Welcome to Future Foodcast. I'm Pam Miller, your host. Today we have an international guest from Germany. I'm so excited to learn about the innovation that's happening there. We have Hendrik Kaye. He is the co-founder and CEO of Esencia Foods. Welcome to the show, Hendrik.
Hi, Pam. Many thanks. Nice to be here, and thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
absolutely. We are excited to find out what you're doing and all of the innovation that's going on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your company and how you got started?
Yeah, so I'm co-founder and CEO of Esencia Foods, and we started, actually in early 2022. It was kind of a cross inspiration, right? So I quit my former job, which was also in a startup, which I helped to grow as part of the management team. And after I left, I tried to see like where can I use my skills, and at the same time, I tried to become vegetarian, which for me was a pretty tough journey, especially given that I was on the one hand used to good cuisine, but at the same time, alternative protein products were really poor these days, and they're still not good, I need to say. And then I met my co-founder Bruno. He's holding a PhD, and he professionally worked as a cook. So for him, it was joining biophysics, where he made his PhD, and cooking, right? And somehow this was the perfect match and resulted in the creation of Essentia Foods.
I love some of the stories about how companies come together, and it oftentimes is just this seemingly random cross section that happens between people and ideas and backgrounds. And this is one of those. It's just very exciting that you two have teamed up with each other. Tell us what you're doing there at Essentia Foods.
What are we doing? So we make vegan meat and fish from mycelium solid state fermentation. So let me take this a bit apart, right? So when
Yes.
you think of any vegan meat product, it has multiple components, and one key component is the protein. And what we do is that we use a biotechnological process to make or remake this protein mass. And to do this, we use mycelium, which is the root of a fungus, and is also an organism that is actually very often applied in the food industry for various processes.
Yeah, the mycelium. So, for those of us who aren't scientists, it's not actually the plant or any fungi. I mean, it's the root of it. It's like the cellular root of it, right?
Yes, exactly. So when you look at if you buy a mushroom in the supermarket, what you buy is technically the fruiting body, and the mycelium are the roots of this mushroom.
Okay.
Uh,
So that's the base of what you're doing. And this, you use that as the base, and this creates, because you were looking for alternative proteins when you were trying to not eat meat, which was your traditional, I'm assuming,
yeah.
source of or fish or other sources of protein
Yes.
that
Yes,
weren't.
exactly.
Okay. And so what do you do with it?
How
What
does
do
it
you do with
work?
it once you get it?
So mycelium is a microorganism, right? So if you think of a cow or a pig or chicken, these are all macroorganisms. So
Okay.
they eat something, they eat soy, or they eat the pet food, and then they work it into protein-rich meat, right? And mycelium is a microorganism, and we feed it with food streams and food side streams, and this mycelium then converts them and also turns them into a protein-rich vegan mass. So basically, the process as such is quite similar and hence very natural, right? And to this mass, the only thing that will then need to be done is that you need to add colors. You can add natural colors and spices. And basically, that's already the magic behind a vegan product. And let me add, it's indeed magic in the sense that so far everything is built based on powders, and they are mixed and matched together. And this is actually a very unnatural approach, right? And so far we're trying to mimic something, but at the same time, we want to be natural, which sounds like an oxymoron. That's something that we unite in our vision as a company.
Oh, so you're talking about the powders being like some of our alternative proteins right now are
Yes.
created with the powder form and then we mix them in. And we're all familiar with that, with maybe making a protein shake, or we might add extra protein powder to some kind of casserole to get the additional protein that we want. But what you're saying is then you're creating actually a more natural process using the actual mycelium.
Yes, and indeed we do, yeah.
Yeah.
So the current powders, they're very like you also start with a pea or with a chickpea or with a yeah with soy, right? And then basically this is all extracted and purified, which is in itself a very heavy process. And then all these powders are then mixed together with 15 ingredients, and then you have a chicken alternative, right? That's how the current industry works. And as you rightfully said, Pam, we basically shorten this process and take out a lot of steps and use a much more natural form by using this microorganism. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and so it sounds like the ingredients, or you say, nutritionally, you're talking about food side streams, et cetera, that you are adding to the mycelium. That's all identifiable to us. It's not some chemical contraption that you're creating. I mean, this sounds like a very heavily science-based project anyway, the research that you're doing, but you're using natural ingredients.
Yes, 100%. So, in the beginning, I was actually a bit scared of biotechnology. But now, if you think about it, what biotechnology does, or what we do, is that we try, or that we do mimic the conditions that you already find in nature, um, which is actually pretty hard, right? And then to rebuild a natural process in, I would say, limited space and in a way that it can be made use of for humans. Um, and that's super fascinating because nature has given us so much, and we need to see that we use these natural processes to also yeah make our vegan meat. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have this bioreactor that you put all this into, and how do you because you can get different outputs. I mean, you're talking about protein alternatives, but share with us how you can vary what you get out of your bioreactor by what you put in. I mean, what alternatives do we have?
So first, everything starts with what you would call the substrate. That's basically that's basically food streams, food side streams, like different chickpeas, beans, okaras, etc. And this is then pre-processed. You would say thermal processing, but also certain way of shaping and put on a tray, right? So you can basically imagine your baking pan, and this we inoculate with the mycelium mixture, and we put into the bioreactor. As I said, the bioreactor mimics conditions that a fungus needs to grow in nature. So we also control humidity, temperature, airflow, CO2 over time, right? And by basically varying all these three parameters, meaning the input, the pre-processing, and the fermentation, we then create different masses, which are then closer to beef, to chicken, fish, etc. And basically, that's the beauty because of this process. It somehow is the same platform that you can use, but you can get these different biomasses. Yeah.
Yeah, and so have you had a demand for, a certain category of those more than another? I mean, you mentioned several options there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are we will when we started, Bruno and I, for us it was easier to eat less meat, but it was harder to get away from fish. And we also started interviewing a lot of end consumers, right, who turned vegetarians. And if you ask a vegetarian, hey, do you still eat fish? Many vegetarians say, oh, actually, yes, I do, right? And we think like, oh, there we found a market, fish eating vegetarians. So that's what we started with. But when you then think at scale, like we actually served a white fish fillet at the Anuga, and then there were a lot of meat companies knocking on our doors and asking, hey, can we also develop something that is more natural and better and has such a great texture for meat? Yeah. And basically we were then thinking like, okay, I think it's the right time to adopt the strategy because we have a crazy amount of demand, right? And there's basically no week going by without either commitment or interest from a new customer. And most of them are coming from the meat industry. So basically, yes, that's the fish, I would say, is a bit, it's not, we still have also potential customers for this, but most of us humans eat more meat than we do eat fish. And it's the same with the vegetarian product. It just makes sense at this level.
Right. And well, it sounds like if the customers are coming to you and you have the ability to give them what they need, that would be a good business strategy. I would think you'd want to,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, have your focus where the customers are.
Then yeah, we actually just hired a business developer because we just can't cope with potential partnerships and demand. Yeah.
Right, because you're trying to actually do the business of the business and the product, right? So what is the value proposition here? I mean, we're talking about alternative proteins, and there's a lot happening in your space because it's a topic right now in the food industry. So what's the value proposition of your process?
So the value proposition is that our customers can create natural products with clean labels. That's something that matters a lot to consumers. With superior texture, because the mycelium itself is a texturing element. Yeah, and also at a price that customers are actually willing to pay. The moment products are more expensive than the actual meat counterparts. And well, our process is perfectly suited to deliver on those three attributes, given that it's short, that we have 100% conversion from input to output, and that all the mechanical processing is replaced by the capabilities of fungi and the capabilities of nature. Yeah.
Right. And so your customers, though, they're the companies that want the ingredient and the mouthfeel. We as consumers, when you have an ingredient in a product or it like you were talking about, the texture and all those things are really important when you're putting things together. But you're mainly a B2B company right now, right? You're selling to other companies that are using your product in their products.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. What might be interesting to mention here again, Pam, is that if you think about how sausages are made, very often there is then a sausage company investigating a certain, let's say, an Italian sausage, and then they bring the sausage back from Italy to Germany, and they also engineer the sausage together with food labs about which aromas are added, must the color be changed, and all of this is with real meat products, right? So basically, what we're doing here is nothing unusual or nothing unnatural in the overall meat industry or in the food industry. So you cannot say that a vegan alternative is less natural to make this point here.
Well, and then also you have the options for people who are vegan or vegetarian, don't want to eat meat or fish from the animal. They still can maintain their diet.
Yes, exactly. They can maintain the diet, and they can also, and that's what really is important. They can stick to the habits, because changing a habit, I think we all know, it's super hard. I mean, I tried to become member of the 5 a.m. club, right? Trying to wake up in the morning every day super early. It just didn't work for me. And changing your sleeping habits is hard. Changing your eating habits, it's hard. So everything that we are accustomed to do is very difficult to change. And I think this is also the market, not just for vegetarians, but also for flexitarians, which just want to eat chicken one day and maybe have a vegan alternative product the other day.
That is a really good point, because we want, I guess I always say, I mean, people people, they talk thin, but they eat fat. Like they know how they should be eating, but that's not always how they execute. Like they don't always eat the way they say they want to. They kind of go back to the comfort food or what they're used to or what they normally did. So somebody who's trying to make a change, you're making it easier for them to be able to eat less meat from the animal meat or fish, but still have the same benefits and taste. And even from your process, I mean, what you're saying, it's cleaner label, and less I don't know, I'm just sitting here talking to you right now, thinking about how sausage is made. And I don't typically eat sausage because how sausage is made, but I might consider sausage that's made from your product because at least I know a little bit more about where that has been, if that makes any sense to you.
Wow.
A lot of times to be this, gathering of different byproducts of the processing, but
Super fascinating that you say this, Pam, because I'm talking to so many customers in the B2B space and also end consumers. And it's actually the first time I hear the point that consumers distrust sausages because of the way they are made compared to a vegan product. That's an awesome point. Yeah.
I know, I'm just sitting here, making a personal evaluation, and maybe our listeners and viewers, if you have a comment, like let us know. I'm sure Hendrik and I would, the Future Foodcast team will answer you back. We'd love to have a conversation about this because these alternative proteins definitely are in the news, and there's a lot of innovation going on. Hendrik, your company has got a lot happening out of Germany. I know you're actually working with customers now. And is there anything else you'd like to share with us, with our audience before we go, about what's happening?
So what's happening, I think what is super exciting, or what has been exciting for me personally, is when we served a product made from our biomass the first time in a restaurant, right? And it's always one of the best feelings for a founder. I mean, we're now pre-market still, right? But we have a lot of B2B like co-development and so on. But for me, the lot of joy was in the fact that you really see people spending money on a product that you created, and that shows that you build something that is really valuable, right? I mean, I'm also an economist by training, so it's definitely my personal bias coming in here. But I just wanted to share with you and the audience that this was a really happy moment for me, and probably is for any founder.
Well, exciting. And for us as consumers to have more options. There's still the traditional meat products and fish products, but now there's other alternatives that are coming on the market, and people can try them as they would like. So thank you for giving us some background on what's happening at Esencia Foods. We really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, many thanks, Pam. It was a great pleasure to be your guest.
Yeah, and thanks to our audience for listening. If you'd like to hear more about this kind of topic, please let us know and subscribe so you don't miss the next show. Until next time, I'm Pam Linemiller.
Thanks for listening to Future Foodcast. Future Foodcast is powered by Farm to Plate, the leading food blockchain platform. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to stay up to date with the very latest innovations in the food industry.